Hello there. Welcome to episode 16 of Never Mind the Bullens. My name's Mike Peters. This is your bite-sized Everton podcast and vodcast. And fingers crossed there will actually be a vodcast with this edition because I had a bit of a technical problem with the last one, which meant that's why it wasn't there. Basically, the video ended up making me look like Max Headroom. There's a target reference for any younger viewers. Well, another one that I can do with a smile on my face. First time we've won 5 games to open the season. It's since 1938-39. First time we've won our first 3 league games of the season since 1993-4. And hopefully, I'm fairly confident, even as an Evertonian, that the end to that season, or to this season, won't be as tense as the end to that season was. And also the first time that we've been top of the league after 3 games for 19 years, which I seem to recall, and it was a 2-1 win at home to Middlesbrough. Scott Gemmell, I think, scored a goal that day. That seems to sort of stick in my memory. I'm sure somebody will correct me at NMTV Pod on Twitter if you need to correct my facts there. But a real test today against Crystal Palace, and one that in times past, the Evertonian teams would have probably wilted under pressure because it was physical. It was a battle, particularly second half. It was somewhat attritional. The first half was some good football played by both sides, and I do like Palace. I like Roy Hodgson. I think he's done an excellent job pretty much everywhere he's been, possibly exception over the road. But from our point of view, he did a brilliant job at Liverpool. But nonetheless, Palace extremely well organised, disciplined, physical, powerful, and it took, a good performance for us to be able to break them down, both in terms of quality, but also in terms of just doing the ugly stuff, in terms of just battling and working hard and grafting. And eventually we've come out on top there. Got to mention the pass for the first goal from James Rodriguez. That pass was so filthy and sexy that I want to take it home, spoon it, and have little passes with it. It was that brilliant. And that just shows, again today, I mean, he got man of the match on commentary, but then I didn't necessarily agree with that, but it's Ali McCoist. So, you can't take anything he says with any, sense of seriousness at all. But he does just have he operates on a different level. He's just able to find those little tiny pockets of space and just have those extra few seconds that other players, or the mere mortals, if you like, just don't seem to get. And that pass for Seamus Coleman to create the first goal for Dom Calvert-Lewin was terrific. It really was beautiful, and with his right foot as well. Dom Calvert-Lewin again could have had a hat-trick today, but for the ball not skewing off his foot for that chance in the second half, where he's tried to flick it with the outside of his right foot, and Michael Keane not getting in his way for that other chance. But he he's got his goal. He had a difficult afternoon, particularly second half, because he was really, really isolated as Palace were really piling on the pressure, but he had to work hard, and he went out and he won the ball. He came out of those lines that Carlo's saying to him, stay within, the sort of the confines of the 6-yard box as you run up the pitch, because that's where you're going to get your goals. And he had to come out and work and graft, and he did that. Won a few free kicks, did exactly what you need a centre forward to do when you're away from home and you're under the cosh a little bit. Just be there and make sure that you're not just standing around. True performance from Richarlison as well. He worked extremely hard, was really intense in the game. Really pleased with Andre Gomes as well. I think that's the most I've seen him influence a game, and he's really starting to settle into that. Sorry, I should say, most I've seen him influence the game for quite a while. It's just the way he was passing the ball around, and he's really starting to settle into his role in midfield alongside Alan and Abdoulaye Doucouré. A few somewhat skew of passes from Abdoulaye Doucouré, but when we needed him, when he chased down stride for stride with Wilfried Zaha in the second half, that's what he's there for. That really is. Alan did terrifically again, very understated. He did his job, doubled up when we needed him to double up on players. The goal was disappointing that they scored. Great corner from Andros Townsend, don't get me wrong, but there's an argument, should Jordan Pickford come for that? And certainly Michael Keane and Richarlison at the back post have got to do better, got to be stronger, got to try and dominate. Koyate's a big lad, don't get me wrong, but they've got to try and dominate him a bit physically, and they didn't do that. So that's something to work on during the week. The ball going straight at Jordan Pickford from 5 yards out. Powerful header, but I just wondered, should he do a bit better with that? I just thought his performance just doesn't want to come off his line. I actually thought his overall performance today was worse than it was on Wednesday, because he actually had more to do today. His distribution was fine and all fine and good, but again, just his decision making, it doesn't want to come off his line. It doesn't dominate his 6-yard box. That's a concern for me. And when they were putting in, I think Townsend put in another cross later on in the second half, went right to the back post, and Koyate heads it down. He's jumping up like he's on Britain's Got Talent, like he's doing a star jump. And it's like, why? Koyate's clearly good in the air. He's good enough to know that you head the ball down. You stay on your feet. If that had gone down, it would have gone under Jordan Pickford and in the net. I couldn't quite understand that. So stuff needs to be worked on the training ground with him. The winning goal, I mean, I have to say, I sat there and said, that's not a penalty. And I think if that went against Everton, we would be, to a man, woman, child, fuming with that. But they are the rules. I mean, Palace got one last week against Manchester United. And, you know, these things, the old adage of these things balance themselves out over the course of a season. Well, for us, they didn't really balance themselves out last season. So maybe this is it, you know, a karma. The yin and the yang rebalancing itself, you know, the penalty chakras, as it were, because we were on the rough end of some terrible VAR decisions that they had to apologise for later. Michael Keane at Brighton. You can argue the goal at Manchester United in the last minute that was Carlo ended up getting sent off because he went ranting to Chris Kavanagh about. So, I mean, by any definition, I don't think any of us as reasonable football fans would think that's a penalty. It was extremely harsh. I think either of them were penalties. Don't think Joel Ward's intentionally done that. He's moving away from the ball and his arm's there and it's just hit his hand. But you take the opportunities that you're given, and Richarlison's stuck it away. So is he officially our new penalty taker? I don't know. I mean, who on earth knows? As I say about Jordan Pickford, you know, rumours or Carlos saying that he's not had any sort of looking at a goalkeeper, but I'm not convinced that, you know, if Jordan Pickford's form continues sort of bumbling along as it is, where it's nowhere near the level that he's capable of, that we want Jonas Losel as our sort of backup goalkeeper. I was never impressed with Losel when he was at Huddersfield. I was underwhelmed when we signed him, and I'm not convinced that he's the man that we want backing up. But we've done nothing about Sergio Romero, who I would be happy with. Obviously, he's a good goalkeeper. Not a great goalkeeper, but can certainly really push Jordan Pickford on. Good use of the bench today as well. When we needed it, you know, James obviously was tying up a little bit and was becoming less of an influence in the game. Although Alex Iwobi, after me being so effusive and praising him after the game on Wednesday at Fleetwood, he was pretty poor today. And, you know, sort of almost reverted to type in a way because he kept giving the ball away every single time. I think he tried to give the ball away. Gylfi Sigurdsson did really well when he came on. And that was great to see. Just moving the ball, passing it around well, just controlling the possession and just being calm, which is what we needed in those instances. And obviously, well, Tom Davies didn't really have a chance to do much because he came on to sort of waste time and just, you know, occupy them defensively as well. Still not convinced. Yerry Mina had one of his afternoons today where, I mean, there were a couple of instances where you're just thinking, I just don't want him as a centre back for the rest of the season. I want Mason Allgate back in there. But obviously, we've got another few weeks. But as long as we keep winning, you know, that's the main thing, I suppose, at this stage of the season. It's about momentum. And obviously, with West Ham to come in the Carabao Cup on Wednesday, and then Brighton next weekend, then, you know, if we don't come out at the end of this sort of little initial run of games with 7 wins, at this stage, you'd be really disappointed, you know. But again, it requires us being professional. And it took me, I mean, I realised Niels Nkounkou when I checked, I was like, was he on the bench? Checked about half an hour. I thought, oh, no, he's not. And then didn't even realise until later on, until it was actually mentioned by Clive Tilsley in commentary, that Anthony Gordon wasn't on the bench either, which, you know, is great for the sort of strength in depth that we've got in terms of bodies, not necessarily in terms of, you know, quality, but still, you know, we've got running right through the team, running right through the squad. There's definitely enough bodies there. As Carlo said after the Fleetwood game the other night, we've got 31 players in that first team squad, even with a few injuries. The only area that we're a bit lacking or a bit short on bodies at the minute is in central defence. But obviously a week or so to go in the transfer window. Hopefully there will be a bit of movement and some of those players might go out, which might allow us to bring another player or two in, a goalkeeper, centre half, as we've talked about. But until then, everything is, you know, let's enjoy being top of the league, probably till at least Monday, because unless Leicester pull off something miraculous against Man City on Sunday, you'd think we'll be there for a couple of days. So let's enjoy our weekend. I'm off for a glass of wine now, or a gin, or possibly both. So at NMTB Pod, if you want to get in touch on Twitter, or nmtbpod@gmail.com on the email. And I will speak to you again after the West Ham game on Wednesday night. Until then, come on, you Blues.